Hello, this is Alex with RealtorVision.com, and in this video, we're going to explain the Media Display page. The Media Display settings can be found by opening a project and clicking Media Display in the left side menu under Settings. Here you'll find three settings: photo sizing, thumbnail sizing, and scene transition. So, why do we need to adjust sizing? To explain, let's quickly review what aspect ratio is. Rectangular media like images and videos have width and height, with most digital forms being measured in pixels. If you find the highest common denominator of the width and height and divide those pixel dimensions with it, you'll end up with the aspect ratio. Another way to think of it is in units. A 4:3 aspect ratio will have 4 units of width and 3 of height. When talking about photos, there are a few common ratios. A 1:1, or square aspect ratio, was historically used by Polaroid, but can now be seen on social media sites like Instagram. The 3:2 aspect ratio is used by almost all DSLR manufacturers, the exceptions being the ones who use the 4:3 aspect ratio, Olympus and Panasonic. And the 16:9 aspect ratio is commonly used for computer displays and recording video. A problem arises when a video isn't the same aspect ratio as the display it's being viewed on. For example, let's take a 3:2 photo and try to view it on a 16:9 display. Let's start with the entire image on the display. That works, but what if we don't like the black areas where there's no image? Let's scale it up until all of the space is filled. Well, that's cleaner looking, but there are large areas of the image that aren't being shown. This is what Fusion did up until recently. We offer the calibration tool in the scene editor, but images would still be heavily cropped. Just for fun, what if we ignored the aspect ratio and just made it fit the display? Well, it would distort the image by stretching it horizontally. To complicate matters, you may have different aspect ratios in the same project. Uploading 3:2 photos from a DSLR along with 16:9 drone footage isn't unusual. Okay, let's go back to the photo sizing options. There are two smart options: fill container and keep same aspect ratio. Fill container always touches the short edges of the display, never shows black space, and will crop the photos to accomplish it. Keep same aspect ratio will always touch the long edges, will very likely show black space, but shows the entirety of the media every time. Then there are three forced options: 3:2, 4:3, and 16:9. These will crop the media to the same displayed ratio regardless of the images ratio. Let's demonstrate each of the 5 settings. I've used these 4 pictures in a project with their aspect ratios marked on each. 1:1 images aren't common in professional photography, but it's a good example still. There's also a thin red border to help show when the image is being cropped. The display or playback window in this case is 16:9. Now, this is a poor example of the difference between fill container and force to 16:9 since the display is 16:9. If we were to do the same test on an older 4:3 display, fill container and force to 4:3 would be the same. So what's the best choice? There isn't, but I do have some guidelines. If your media is almost always the same ratio, you want to see the entire piece of media, and the black space doesn't bother you, use the matching force setting. If you don't want to see the empty black space, use fill container. This is also the closest to the classic behavior. If you always want to see the entire piece of media, and the black space doesn't bother you, use keep same aspect ratio. There's also no reason to not test out each setting on your own. These settings only change how the media is played. It does not modify the actual media. If you want to change your default setting, there is a link on the project's media display page that will take you to the media menu in your account settings. That covers photo sizing, but what about thumbnail sizing? Thumbnails are the small preview images you see in the property website photo gallery. Since thumbnails don't ever have to fill the display to look good, there are a few more options. If you'd like square thumbnails for the uniformity, you can force to a 1:1 aspect ratio. The other 4 settings will have uniform thumbnails at the specified aspect ratio. If you'd like the thumbnails to be miniature versions of the media, you can use the keep same aspect ratio. Finally, we have scene transition, which has nothing to do with aspect ratio. By default, scenes are transitioned with a slow crossfade between them. Slow is about half a second in this case. If you'd like to experiment with other effects, there are now 7 more to choose from. Here's a quick comparison of all of them. Well, that about covers it. If you have any additional questions or concerns, you can email us at support@realtorvision.com. Thank you for watching.